So, good morning. This is Dr. Vijayalakshmi, Professor, Department of AI&DS of Kalangar Karnanidhi Institute of Technology. So, today we'll be seeing the topic Introduction to Operating System and the Operating System Foundation subject. So, in this presentation, we'll be seeing what is operating system and what operating systems is going to do, and what is a computer system organization, what are how it operates, and what are the operating system operations, and how interrupts are handled by the operating system. So, first, what is an operating system? So, is it possible to operate a computer without an operating system? No, the answer will be no, because the operating system is going to be the main software which is going to be used by the users. So, the definition of the operating system is a program that acts as an intermediary between a user of a computer and the computer hardware. So, without operating system, the hardware, with the hardware, we are not going to do anything. So, once when the operating system is going to be installed or loaded, only the user can execute their programs well. So, operating system is going to be an intermediate between the user of a computer and the computer hardware. So, what are the main goals of an operating system? So, three goals are there. So, the operating system must execute the user programs and solve their problems easier and make the computer system convenient to use. All the users must be easily able to utilize the computer. And then the next goal is the hardware components which are present in the system, so that should be efficiently utilized, maximum utilized. So that is the main goal of operating system. So before seeing about the operating system functions, we'll see what are the components present in the computer system. So that is the computer system structure. So the computer has mainly four components. First one is the hardware, nothing but the components which are present inside the computer or the computing resources like the CPU, memory, IO devices, etc. Several IO devices will be present like pen drive, keyboard or screen, monitor, all those things are the devices which are attached to the computer, CPU. The next is the component is the operating system. So that is the main thing which is going to control and coordinate all the hardware components. Then the third thing is the application program. So nothing but like word processor, compiler, web browser, all those things. So using this application programs only, the users are going to get the help of the operating system to execute their programs. The last one is the users. Users are the main components. So they are going to only interact with the computer and execute their tasks. So the four components are hardware, operating system, application programs, and users. So this is a diagrammatic view of the components. So first we have the users. So they can only interact with the application programs. They directly cannot interact with the operating system. So through the application programs, we are going to submit our works, and that will be taken by the operating system, and it will be supporting us to help that execution of that programs. So the operating system will be directly interacting with the hardware devices and support the user programs to get executed. So what the operating systems do? So in 2 points of view we can see how the operating system is going to function. So from the user point of view, the users want to operate the system with convenience. They mustn't have any difficulty in utilizing the computer. So that they will be expecting. Then good performance. So suppose if I submit a work to get executed, within seconds I must get the output. It mustn't take so long time. So good performance is needed by the computer. So they don't expect how the resources are utilized, whether how the CPU is utilized maximum or memory is utilized maximum. So those points are not bothered about the users. So these are the expectations of the user. The next we have operating system point of view. So when you take operating system, the operating system must utilize the resources to the maximum, and again it should allocate the resources properly for the users as per the user needs. The next is it should control the components, okay, how they are going to utilize the components, all those things, controlling must be with the operating system. Then again it should satisfy the user needs also. Then maximize the resource utilization. So resources must be utilized to the maximum because we are spending more for computer, so the resources must be utilized properly to the maximum. So the computer, if you take the computer, we have the processor and then we have the several I/O devices and memory we have. So all these components will be connected by bus. So nothing but a mode of operation, mode of data transfer will be through the bus. So all the components are like this. So each and every I/O devices like hard disk, mouse, keyboard, etc., they are be having a controller, a device for controlling each and every device. So each one will be having its own controller. So the CPU will be giving instructions or controlling the devices only through the controllers. So whatever instructions the CPU wants to give, so that will be giving to the I/O devices and that will be carried in the bus, and every device controller will be installed with the software called as device driver. So only through that software we are going to control the I/O devices with the help of CPU instructions. So all the operations will be done in the CPU by what is called as interrupt. Everything will be interrupt driven. So we'll see what is interrupt. So interrupts transfer control to the interrupt service routine generally. So that is what will happen is, in the memory, a vector will be stored called as interrupt vector, nothing but it's like an array, and it will be having the address of service routine. So if an interrupt occurs, so how it should be handled, so that will be like a function. It will be written in, for each and every service it will be written like that. So that will be stored in the memory again. So each one will be stored in different address locations. So that address will be present in the interrupt vector. So once when an interrupt occurs, the OS, what it will do is it will find out what type of interrupt it is. Then it will search the interrupt vector for that particular address where that service routine is present. Then control will be going to that portion. So that will be called as, solely we call that operating system as interrupt driven. So whenever a software is going to generate an interrupt, that will be called as trap or exception. So same thing is given here. The operating system preserves the state. So when an interrupt occurs, what will happen is, the CPU, whatever it will be doing, it will be executing some other process. So the same state what it is now, so that will be stored in the program counter, etc., will be stored in a program control block, PCB. Then the control will be switching to the new service routine. So in this flowchart we can see the CPU, it is now doing with some operation. So now an interrupt I/O request has come. So the device driver initiates I/O. So control will be, instructions will be given by the CPU through the bus to the device driver to initiate a I/O operation. The next what happens is, second point, the I/O controller, it will initiate the I/O, whether it may be a read request or write request, either to read it from the keyboard or to read it from the memory. So like that, any type it will be there. So that operation will be initiated by the device driver of that particular device. The next, once that process is over, input operation is over, the next step, third step is, the input is ready or output is completed or error. If there is any error during I/O operation, suppose if you are going to give some printout or something, if the printer is not switched on, means that is an error, printer is not ready. So like that, different types of errors may occur during I/O operation. So that information again, that will be generated as an interrupt, and CPU will be intimated with that. So that is the fourth point. So CPU receiving interrupt, it transfers control to the interrupt handler. So what type of interrupt has occurred, so that should be attended or taken care by the CPU, or action has to be taken. So how that will be done is, that interrupt routines are stored in the memory, and where it is stored, that address will be present in the interrupt vector. So it will search the interrupt vector for the appropriate address, and then fifth point, control will be going to the fifth interrupt handler. So interrupt handler processes data and returns from the interrupt. So after that interrupt is serviced, sixth point, CPU will resume processing of the interrupt task. So meantime, while the IO was given in the second step, CPU will continue with some other task. So once when the interrupt is handled, means again it will resume with the previous task itself. So that is the seventh point. So thus the operating system, with the help of CPU, it will be handling all the interrupts. So I hope in this presentation you know what is operating system, what are the components of computer system, and how it is connected, and then how it is going to be operated with the help of interrupts. Thank you.